Hello and welcome to the Speaking Frankly Football Show. I'm Frank Hughes, the chairman of Skelmersdale United Football Club, and alongside me is my co-host and passionate press officer AJ Vignette. Not that being involved with the football club is a prerequisite for hosting a football podcast, but it certainly helps. We are ready to dive headfirst into the vibrant world of non-league football in the Northwest, and we might even take a moment to discuss some of the bigger headlines in the sport. We'll explore life in the Northwest counties, bring you interviews with well-known faces in the league, and analyse how local teams are performing while making bold predictions for their upcoming matches. Nothing is off the limits here. We'll be diving into all kinds of topics, including complicated refereeing decisions and regulations that often leave fans perplexed. We want to hear from you too. This is your show, so don't hesitate to reach out with topics you want us to tackle. Let's get this conversation started and enjoy every single moment. We are speaking frankly. Hello and welcome to the 14th episode of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and a warm welcome to my co-host AJ Vignette.
Good evening, Frank. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very, very much for tuning into, as Frank says, episode 14 of the Speaking Frankly Football Show. I think now that the podcast is probably not so much in its infancy now as is in its toddler stages. So here we are, just a little bit more chaotic, but we have a better idea of what we're doing.
We've entered our teenage years, haven't
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Certainly have.
Look at that. So watch out for these gaps, spaces of moodiness and slamming of doors. That's all to come on the Speaking Frankly Football Show.
Listen, as we say, it is part one. We do a Northwest Counties roundup. We'll look at the FA VARs, and we look at our sort of more controversial issues. Not so much controversial, but stories that are
big news.
Yes. But in the second half of the show, we'll be speaking to the CEO of Marine AFC, James Leary, and about their plans, what's gone on in the last 5 years, and the plans for the future with the new stadium. So we're really looking forward to that one. But first of all, we come to, sadly, Atherton LR. They lost to Bourne Town agonisingly on penalties in the fifth round of the FA VARs on Saturday, in the front of a decent crowd, which I expected them to get more, to be honest with you, 429. Now, over 1,000 people have gone through the turnstiles during the cup run, which is good. It's helped the club no end. But it was a tough ask, we said, because they were playing a team, a league, a division above them, at the top of their league as well, doing really, really well. But
only lost one game as well all season in the domestic league. They're powerhouses in their league in their own right. Yeah, so it was always going to be. I think each round is an Everest as far as this competition goes, and as far as teams like Atherton, they were the lowest ranked team left in that competition. So every single round that they progressed, it was a big ask from Rovers to keep going and to keep taking the fight to these bigger teams. It was stunning in the last game against Hallam, but Bourne, although proving a step too far, they matched them. They were
losing 2-0 and fought back to 2-2 before the penalties. So.
Yes, they did. Yeah, I saw the highlights of the game, and I've got to say, Davy Jones, if I was him, I'd be really pleased with the manner in which they came back from being 2-0 down. But I think I'd probably be frustrated by the concession of that second goal. It was a free header from a corner, and given how tight his defence is and has been over the season, I think he'll look at that one and maybe think that goal was preventable. Nonetheless, to get them back to 2-2 and take them to the penalty shootout, that's a proud achievement in itself.
Most definitely, and listen, they've actually seen an average rise of attendance of 64%. throughout the season as well. So happy days for them. And like you say, they should be extremely proud of themselves.
Certainly, we should.
I know they'll be here. But listen, they managed to. They played on Monday night and managed to get into the semi-finals of the Edward Chase Cup with a nice 4-0 win over Cheadle Heath Nomads. So that sort of cured a little bit of the heartache, I would imagine.
I would have thought so. Yeah, it's a great way to kind of bounce back from the heartbreak, as you say. 4-0 win over Cheadle Heath Nomads, and I think you'd probably not write them off them winning the whole thing. Would you really? No,
listen, they're doing fantastic in the league, and if they can do a league and cup double, even better.
I think so. Yeah, I think when we spoke to Sean, I know that his focus is the league, but if he can get a cup out of this as well, he'll say this was a season for the ages for our.
Definitely. So listen, we move on to the results in the league, and I say varied results. Ramsbottom let a 2-0 lead slip against Longridge on Saturday.
Yeah.
So with Bury winning at Stockport Town, they managed to leapfrog the Rams with a slim 1-point lead. And then on Tuesday night, Bury went on to beat the Isle of Man, but they did it the hard way. The Isle of Man snatched what looked like to be a draw in the 86th minute, only for Bury to find a winner in the 94th minute, and the momentum certainly seems to be going in Bury's favour.
I think so. Yeah, I saw the highlights of that game, and Bury almost have a cheat code themselves in the form of DJ Pedro. That guy is just on an unstoppable run of form at the minute. It was a really, really good header to secure the points with time sort of very much running out, and it was the first kind of real sign of Ramsbottom blinking first, so to speak. We know that it's been sort of a bit of a 2 or 3 way battle between themselves, Bury and Chadderton, but that was the first sign of a slip from Ramsbottom. They now have the exact same number of games played, but Bury ahead by, I think it's a point now, and that point could kind of prove all the difference, really. There's still plenty of time for them to turn it around, but Ramsbottom, we've noted, haven't exactly been winning games at a canter recently. It's been a goal or two here and there to secure them 3 points. So, maybe now the run of luck is catching up with them.
There's still a long way to go, though, isn't it?
There is still a lot of games left in the season. So you'd hope that this the climax to the season is as dramatic as what the middle of the season has been.
That said, it's 10, 11, 12 games, isn't it?
There is still, yeah, exactly, and probably about 14 or 15.
We say it's a lot, but you sort of break the back of that, and it's it could be decided before the end of March.
It could, yeah. It all depends on how the teams
I don't think it will
pan out. No, I don't, because you've still got teams like Padiham who are not out of the equation. Lower Breck still very much in the fight there. So this could easily be sort of 4 or 5 teams that still have an option to get up there and take that automatic promotion spot. But then that also leaves the remaining 4 teams to hammer it out with each other over who goes up with them.
And Padiham being one of them, although they slipped out of the playoff positions with a costly draw at Chadderton, but then Chadderton are up there as well, so that was maybe a point gained rather than 2 lost.
I would think so, yeah. Away at Chadderton as well. It's not like Paddy were on home turf there, and Chadderton are where they are for a reason, despite their slips and bumps in the road of late. I think Padiham would have wanted to win that one, but they've still got games in hand on the teams above them. They're still very much in the fight there.
Yeah, definitely. And they've still got what games in hand, did we say?
Yes,
to maintain
about
the charge.
2 or 3, something like that.
Yeah. So Jefferson Montero, a former Premier League player who's made his debut as a substitute for FC St Helens on Saturday, boosting their attendance to 347. And they managed to have a nice 4-1 win as well over Charnock Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. So props to Liam Houghton, who grabbed 2 for FC St Helens there in front of, as you say, 324 fans. You know, I mean, Montero, it's a really positive signing for FC St Helens, not only for his experience on the pitch and how he'll inevitably galvanise the players around him and push them to be better, but also kind of the star power factor that he's got. You know, he's a big name, in the professional circuit. You know, having spent a bit of time at Swansea and particularly at Villarreal. Given where FC St Helens are in the league, again, a surge towards them playoff places, where they were hanging around there for a good portion of the earlier part of the season, but it's a great signing, and I think it will galvanise the team into a run.
I definitely think so. I agree with you there. We're developing a soft spot for all these people now, aren't we? Because we interviewed Steve Leather, smashing bloke last week, and
Mark Hayes is obviously a huge figure within our circuit as well. You know him on a personal level, don't you?
Yeah. Listen, he's got so much energy; it's unbelievable. It just doesn't stop. And a good example of what volunteers are all about at non-league level.
Yes.
Very to be very proud of the people that they've got involved in the football club there.
Hugely.
Listen, Richard Brodie, spoke to him again. He's returned to winning ways with a 2-0 win over Prestwich Hayes. They obviously their resurgent form took a little bit of a turn there. He's managed to get the win over them. Yeah,
it was a bit of a wobble of late. Some results that Brodie himself will admit it probably should have gone their way, but didn't. He made a point of saying that his team can't quite kill other teams off, but they certainly did today. Prestwich Hayes is one of those teams that have presented a bump in the road, and they ended up taking the lead after 12 minutes. But Glossop have come back, and both their goals were secured before half time. A penalty from Lee Rick in the 45th minute ended up being the deciding factor in front of 324 fans as well, which that's not bad. That's really not bad at all for Glossop.
Yeah. Listen, looking like, because we would go to Tuesday night then, which Prestwich Hayes are away to West Didsbury and Chorlton, and managed to scrape themselves out of the relegation zone with a 2-1 win in front of 447 people, and all the paperwork here is all sort of hit and miss. So you've got to scramble through it to find it.
What date was that? Sorry,
that was Tuesday the 4th.
Tuesday the 4th. Yes, they did.
Of course, like Berry beat the Isle of Man.
They did. Yeah,
left it late, 4th minute of injury time.
Well, that was the header from DJ Pedro that I was telling you about. The guy's on a serious run. I think he's about 5 goals in his last 3 games or something like that. He's on a hell of a run. He really is. Prestwich Hayes, back in the fight. They're off the bottom of the table now, and I believe they are, just by virtue of goal difference, they are out of the relegation.
But they looked down and out.
They really did. They really did. I mean, when Colne got off the bottom of the table, we said the exact same thing. But Prestwich Hayes are having their own little renaissance now, and it's left Squires Gate with an awful lot to do, and it's left Pilks looking over their shoulder, South Liverpool as well. So you never really count these teams out. And West Didsbury and Chorlton, at home, that's a really rough place to go. But the capacity crowd wasn't really there on that Tuesday night. There's only 447 there.
Had anything to do with the smell?
I don't think so. Unless those unruly neighbours were setting up bollards and pepper spray, something like that one, or they were paid off by the Prestwich Hayes alumni, if you like. But it was 2 late goals. What did it? There were 2 goals within an 8-minute spell over the 75th to 83rd minute.
It seems to be in the Premier League Division 1 South. That you can't sort of predict what's going to happen in the bottom. It just seems to be in our division where us and Garstang are sort of keeping everybody else.
Well, you talk about Garstang, but even they managed to
Well, we'll come to that in a minute, won't we?
Yeah,
we'll get to the south first, shall we?
Yes.
And not no sort of great surprises there. Runcorn Town, we thought it would be tight. That's probably reasonably tight because it was a 92nd minute goal that added to the tally. They were 2-1 up Winsford against Runcorn.
Yeah.
So it sort of that might flatter them a little bit, that scoreline, but it was a close one nevertheless.
Yeah, it very much was. I mean, Winsford, we talk about them being perennial powerhouses at the top of the Division 1 South. They are scrapping it out with Stafford in a bit of a head-to-header there. So these were those games that Winsford, really do need to win and win comfortably to exercise, their right to automatic promotion. And they've done it in a bit of style as well. They were in control for much of the second half after Matt Birchall put them 2-0 ahead. Jamie Appley's kind of given them hope with Runcorn hope with 10 minutes to go, but then that penalty, as you said, from Leandro Vargas sort of put paid to any hopes of a late point snatcher.
So no real great surprises there. But listen,
I don't think so. No.
We move on to our division, of course. First, Division 1 North, and like you said there, Garstang managed to pull off a 96th minute equaliser.
Yes.
Quite a few of the last 4 goals come in the last 20 minutes.
It was chaotic to say the least. In fact, Garstang were 1-0 up as early as the 8th minute and held it till just before half time. Deck Hill sort of fashioned himself out as being the go-to guy for goals for Ashton Athletic, and he's proved it once again. He's grabbed a hat-trick for Ashton, and it still wasn't enough. Dan Squires, Garstang's top scorer, scrambling a 96-minute equaliser. Ashton,
which makes absolutely no difference to us, really, because I think you said that to me on Saturday.
This is true, yes. So it now increases their points difference over us from 7 to 8, but we would have needed 3 wins to get above them.
And probably anyway. 50 or 60 goals in the next 8.
I'm afraid, the goal difference between us and Garstang is quite substantial. I think there is about 20 goals difference between us. So the games that we need to win remain unchanged. But there's obviously now less games in which to do it.
And in the D Derby up in Darwin, Droylsden managed a 50th minute winner in front of a decent crowd there, 335.
I think that's the Droylsden contingent making their way over. I mean, Darwin themselves, it's a beautiful stadium.
Yes,
we mentioned that over there, and I think it says a lot that 335 turned out for that one. I think there is a decent contingent from Droylsden. I don't think it's far for them to travel, and they will have come in numbers. We did predict that Droylsden were going to win this game, and so it proved really. Didn't think it would be as tight as that, but that probably is more props to Darwin than anything else. Yeah.
And talking about scorelines, I mean, and goals, leg goals, Nelson 2. McGull 1. McGull got a 90th minute equaliser through Darren Brannigan.
Yep.
And then Charlie Frost hangs on until the 95th minute to get a winner for Nelson, which, to be fair, Nelson had to win that game. It was a had-win game, wasn't it?
It was a must-win game for them if they're going to have any chance of holding off Atherton LR for that automatic promotion spot. It does increase their lead over them to 4 points. But as we've mentioned before, Atherton have 4 games in hand on Nelson. So Nelson are doing everything that they can. We will say that. It's a Charlie Frost double what has done it for them this time around.
Bacup Borough didn't surprise us. We expected them to beat Thornton Cleveland's. They did. It was a little bit tighter than they expected.
Did we? I thought we were going for Thornton Cleveland's to win this one, but
I might have done. But how many did you get, by the way? I only got 14. 14 again.
14 again. I don't think I got that many this time. I'll have to double check the numbers and
sorry. I tell a lie. I got 15.
Hey, look at that.
I got 15 there. So I went for who are we looking at now?
Thornton
Cleveland's versus. Oh, yeah, I went for Thornton Green.
Did you?
Right?
Yeah, I think I probably will have done as well. I don't know how many I got. I'll need to check over that one.
You're not saying because I probably beat you this week, haven't I?
I think you probably have done. 15 is a strong. It's a strong score. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, we returned home for the first time in weeks, or since the 28th of December. And
disappointing. I think
really disappointing defeat, 5-1 to Steeton. But I did feel as though we were 3-0 down, 4-0 down, I should say.
Yeah.
When Harrison Denton scored. Now, I do feel as though at times we're finishing the stronger team, but we can't seem to.
No.
We can't sort of keep a rear guard.
No, I've always said that in order to win leagues and win trophies, you have to have a really strong back line. And one of the major contributing factors in this is that we were missing 3 of our regular rear guard. Joe Barlow and Jason Clark are out through injury, and Harry Middlehurst had a pre-approved holiday, and our captain. So that kind of put us on the back foot to begin with. Really, it was a bit of a makeshift defence, if you like. Players who were kind of in and out of the squad on rotation really hadn't really got much of a chance to gel, and Steeton coming along with almost the same 11 as what they'd played against us 4 weeks previously.
Yeah, and it was
immensely frustrating, that first half. It really was.
I don't know how frustrating it was for Joe Langford, because he got back between the sticks, and a difficult baptism for him coming back in. Again, the other thing, of course, is second half we lost Darren Askew.
ACL injury.
A possible ACL injury. He's just waiting on a scan now. We wish him the best of luck, but
we do very much hope he comes back into the fold. Very possibly his season is over, but we hope that he'll be able to play again for us next season.
If it is an ACL, it's the third time in his career. He's 28 years of age, and
that knee.
Just
on that knee
and
alone.
You can't see him coming back from that.
No, he's had 2 on the other one. This is his father.
Oh, is this on a separate one?
So this was on
separate one. He's only got 2.
He has got 2. Yeah, so he's had 3 on one and 2 on another. This will be his 5th across both knees, and that's staggering. I don't think I've heard of a player coming back from 2 of them, let alone 5. But we do wish him the absolute best. He was able to walk off and off to his scan, so that does bode well at the very least.
We're keeping in touch with him, and he's committed himself. If injury free, he's committed himself to next season, which will be great.
Yeah,
really nice bloke.
He was wearing the captain's armband as well, which was really positive to see. He was our captain at the beginning of the season, and he was welcomed back into the foil. We were very glad to see him back. He's a big presence on and off the pitch. But nonetheless, it doesn't detract from a deeply frustrating period. And I think I don't want to sound too negative here, but the time that we were allowed to play coincided with 2 things. Number 1 was Harrison coming back onto the pitch. He'd been in and out of the squad recently. He was on the bench for this game and came on after an hour. And I think he turned the tide for us in his attack. He was able to get his foot on the gas, run at the defence, do what he likes doing. He's naturally an attacking player. The other thing as well is that Steeton appeared to take their foot off the gas after having gone 4-0.
You can look a bit better, can't you, in the latter stages of a game when they're already cruising. So it's worthwhile mentioning that it is frustrating. Listen, we had the AGM on Tuesday night at the Wardens in Skem, a very well attended AGM, and as it was put to them, there's an awful lot of targets that we have to achieve, none less than finding a route back to Skem. But keeping the legacy going, and to say that I don't really care where we're competing next season would be a bit. Wouldn't be entirely true. It's not difficult. It's not easy getting relegated from any division. So I don't want that to happen. But if it does, we just carry on ploughing on and seeing where we can go from there. But disappointing for the supporters that have been watching us through thick and thin. But listen, we said it on Tuesday night. We really appreciate the fact that they're still around.
Yeah, very much so. So thank you very much to everyone who turned out, and we hope to see you back on the terraces next year, whatever league we're playing in. And I think it was really positive as well that Tommy Lawson committed to SCEM for next season, regardless of where we are. It's really positive for us.
It is. Listen, but we've said it is what it is. The club has been in decline for decades. I know we've had periods of time where we've had a little bit of success, but it's never been built on solid enough foundations. And that's when we get to speak to James Leary in the second part of the show, he will no doubt show us that stability and forecast in the future is the way forward.
100%. Yeah.
So we're going to move on to other news. Yeah. Some controversial, some not so controversial.
Some big ones.
Yeah, I think we'll skip by. We won't talk about Farsley Celtic this week. I don't think we've got time anyway. But
they've earned themselves a break.
They've earned themselves a break
from us.
But Banbury United, we were going to touch on it last week, but we ran out of time. They've voted to move on from a CBS to a private ownership model.
Yep, so CBS, for those of you wondering, stands for Community Benefit Society, which in effect means that it's fan-owned. Is that correct, Frank?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. So there were 3 scenarios that were presented to the members of Banbury United Football Club, and it was put to a vote. So scenario 1 was to stay as a fan-owned football club, playing at the current Step 3 budget level and raising £140,000 per year from members, which is a big ask.
Oh, huge ask.
Scenario 2 was to stay as a fan-owned club on current income levels, but accept inevitable and very drastic budget cuts. Scenario 3 was to move from fan-owned into private ownership, enabling a situation whereby a new owner could, at the very least, fund the club's current working capital requirement. So Banbury United members opted for scenario 3, moving to private ownership and allowing a new owner to come in and inject funds into the club, which has been well publicised that the club are in huge need of.
So they almost had perfect back into the 98% of the members gave the permission to talk to private.
Yes, they did. Yeah, it was almost unanimous, really, wasn't it? I mean, Banbury's, financial situation was built on sort of 3 major issues, really. So they were the victims of a terrible flood a couple of months ago in the midst of the really bad weather that we had. They'd recently purchased a new grandstand as well, which is a huge investment for any club. And then lastly, not having a secure lease on the ground that they currently occupy was a major problem in itself, particularly in terms of generating revenue from the gates.
What it proves, AJ, is that there's stability comes at a huge cost, and you sometimes got to recognise what your level is. And sort of crawl before you walk, even.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, and I think James will explain it as well. But his team, Marine, won was it Northern Premier League? But then
they won the playoffs, didn't they, against Macclesfield?
They did, but didn't go. Did they not go up, or was there was a point at which they rejected promotion? Wasn't it?
Going back early in the I think the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think they won back-to-back titles, and they couldn't go up because they had 3. They only had 3 sides to the ground. So logistically, I think it would have been difficult for them. Yeah. Financially, it'd be more difficult for them.
Very much so. But that really emphasises the need for staying at a certain level for certain teams, of not going above your own.
Yeah, people don't like stagnation, do they? Particularly supporters, and that's the issues that we face with our supporters. They think we're going backwards. but sometimes you have to go a little bit backwards before you can move forwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I think we've used the terminology quite often lately that when we speak to James Leary, every now and then somebody throws you a bone and you can run with it. And I think
we're just waiting on that one, aren't we?
Yeah, we're waiting on that one. But we've seen football clubs like FC St Helens that didn't know how they were going to expand their business plan, considering they will bang alongside the cricket club, and then all of a sudden the keys are handed back and then he's got the whole piece of land.
The cricket club folds.
So every now and then somebody throws you the bone. And that was the case there.
And Banbury have opted to reach out a hand and see who takes it.
Well, I think this is a good move for Banbury. I think I always think there's a difficulty when you have a community sort of run football club. It inhibits you. It stops you from. It doesn't help at all, and I don't think it's a good business model for football at any level unless you're in the League of Wales and you can't go anywhere else. You know what I mean? And I have no disrespect to the League of Wales, but that's the top end. You can't go any further. You can go to you can go and play in Europe, but that's the end of your journey, and it doesn't get a great deal bigger. That's it. But I don't know what you think about community-run football clubs. I don't think they work.
No, I don't think they work. I mean, we've seen it with our friends over at Bury. Really, unfortunately, fan groups become at loggerheads with each other, and it never seems like you can satisfy everybody. Now, I know that there were naysayers to the vote here at Banbury, but a very small minority. As I feel like at a club like Bury, it's just it could be sort of two voices just as loud as each other, really, and it's a struggle to get anything done. Which comes to rail.
We're going to go to Bedford. Real Bedford and Bedford Town moving closer to reaching a deal over a proposed merger. But some people have been doing a little bit of creating a little bit of skullduggery, haven't they, in terms of the badge, and suggesting that it was a done deal, and it certainly isn't the case. The chairman of Real Bedford, Peter McCormack, has said as much. He's obviously in consultation with the supporters, but Bedford Town themselves have actually gone on record as saying that they're finding it a struggle to continue as they are.
I have heard that. I think they'd be welcoming. I don't know. I feel like there are some fans who'd be welcome to the merger with Real Bedford if it was done in a way that acknowledges Bedford Town's existence and is done with their traditionalism in mind. A lot of Bedford Town fans are against this merger purely because it abandons all the originalities.
Do you think it's more to do with the name change, though? If there's going to be a name change, I think the way forward for them is keep the name of Bedford.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that said, we're talking about a social media Bitcoin empire surrounding this franchises and
very
what have
much
you.
So. Yeah, so there were plans. There was a meeting about the merger which McCormack hosted, and he put out a badge to give a bit of an idea of what it could look like, and it's an eagle with a skull built into the body of it, and Real Bedford Town being the name of them there. So I'm just showing the badge to Frank. You can find this on X.
I have looked at it. It looks a bit evil, really, doesn't it?
It does. It looks like something out of a Call of Duty video game, quite honestly. And it's not gone down well with a lot of the fans. But interestingly enough, McCormack's bitten back on that one, and he's said that this is not an accurate reflection of what the badge is definitely going to be, just what it could look like. Yeah. And when supporters have argued back with him in one way, shape or form, he's then turned around to them and said, well, you clearly know nothing about football. So he's already jarring some of the fans of the clubs in which he hopes to merge with.
Have you watched the Peter McCormack show?
No,
it's on YouTube. Yeah, he's a big podcaster, isn't he?
Is he?
He's obviously well in. I'd listen. I try to understand Bitcoin as best as I can. And he's got all his money. So he says all of his money is in Bitcoin. So bit of a worry for me because that's such a temperamental market to be in.
It really
he
is.
Seems to know an awful lot about what he talks about, by the way. But I would have thought that's quite a fragile basis to. But that said, they've got the Winklevoss brothers on their side. Yeah. So listen,
he's not short of money if he needs it.
Absolutely rich, aren't they? But
did you watch that movie about the Winklevoss brothers?
I've not had a chance to watch it yet. Unbelievably, I just don't have any time.
You do not. You're too busy. Leading the light for Skelmersdale United's.
Somebody said to me yesterday, you need to take a back seat every now and then and think about yourself, but. You know what? I enjoy doing what I'm doing, so until I drop dead.
At least wait until we've got a home before you think about dropping.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was said to me also as well. You can't drop dead just yet.
No,
you're in the middle of a project, but
a couple of them. I mean, who the hell am I going to get to host the Speaking Frankly football show without a Frank?
I know. Yeah. Well, there's no plans of going anywhere yet.
Thank you, Frank.
Looking at the idea of the merger is to get in the Football League in 7 years, isn't it?
That's a bold statement and an ambitious plan. We like ambition, but would they go about it the right way?
But they're saying, this is Peter McCormick, who's the chairman of the newly formed club, outlined the significant investment that has already been made by Real Bedford, including his belief that Bitcoin standard will form a bedrock for which the club can be built. But you know that it's going to be confusing to the ordinary supporters to acknowledge the Bitcoin phenomena, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get confused between that and crypto. I believe Bitcoin's a little bit safer than crypto.
I mean, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency in itself, isn't it? But it's probably the most stable and certainly the most well-known of them all. However, I don't think I would put all of my money into Bitcoin, but what do I know? He's got some ambitious plans to get Real Bedford or Real Bedford Town, whatever it may be. He's got plans to get them off the ground from where they are and up into the Football League in 7 years. Now he's backed by an enormous amount of money from the Winklevoss twins, and if he is going to merge, he's got to do it correctly, and then he's got to look at building a stable business. Now, if you remember, owners gone by who've thrown money at the club and specifically at the playing squad in order to maximise short-term investment. I'm thinking of Chelsea in the Abramovich heyday. I'm thinking of Chelsea again when Todd Boehly took over a couple of years ago. I'm thinking of United, with the big money signings that just didn't pan out. And I think what McCormack has to understand is that in order to make Real Bedford the best it can be and get into the Football League, it's got to be built on a stable business sense.
My worry always about anything like that with huge investment and new ideas is that if they don't get it right quickly, the supporters get on the backs, and then eventually you're in a situation where the owner
walks away
or the investors walk away, and then the club just goes to
pot,
kaput, which is a big worry. But listen,
huge.
Let's wish them the best of luck, because it costs an awful lot of money to compete at the levels that they're competing at, and I think two combined football clubs would fare better than just the one.
It would, as long as it's done correctly.
In the right manner,
Exactly. You'll still have fans who won't like it, and they, you never know. A breakaway club in Bedford may still be formed in the ashes of Bedford Town. But
Yeah, listen, that is a story that will run on for the next few weeks and months, so we'll keep abreast of that.
Certainly will.
Some really sort of breaking headlines today. The National League is calling for a third promotion spot in the EFL.
Yes.
Officially, the 3 Up Football First campaign has seen 72 members seek a vote at the June EFL AGM to push it through in time for the 26 season, so that's in time for next season.
So currently the League 2 relegation process is that the bottom 2 clubs go down into what is it called these days? The National League?
The National League, yeah, the National League, Premier Division, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. What used to be the conference in layman's terms, and then 2 clubs from the conference bounce up into League 2. Now, the amount of clubs that are relegated across the 4 English divisions varies. So you've got 3 from the Premier League, you've got 3 from the Championship, 4 from League 1, but then 2 from League 2. It's a very unusual system.
As we said, the National League is very much a fourth division now, isn't it?
I think
the old fifth division, and they seem to have. This has been talked about a lot.
Yeah, but it's a huge gap closer between the National League and the League 2. I think the golfing class isn't really there as much as it used to be. You've got teams that are promoted that are now absolutely thriving in the National League. You know, most recently teams like Harrogate and who's the other team that I was thinking of? It was there and it's just gone out of my mind. Come on. Tranmere was one of them.
Morecambe?
No. Burton were one of them once upon a time, but oh, for heaven's sake, it doesn't matter. You get the point. This is just going to give me a headache, but you get the idea. So I think it probably is now the right time to try and push for a third kind of promotion spot.
Do you think they're going to slowly bring that in terms of maybe a playoff? So it will be a playoff position anyway, won't it? That will win the promotion. I just wonder whether there's any argument for the third bottom team going into a playoff final against the playoff winners in the National League, or am I making it too complicated?
I mean, it would be a really interesting notion to see, but I think it may make things a little bit too complicated. I mean, they did it
years ago, didn't they?
And they do it in Scotland.
Yeah,
But I don't know. It just seems a little bit unfair that you get the third place spot and then you have to play off against the team who finished third bottom of the of League 2 just for your right to play in League 2, receive the parachute payments, receive all the decencies that come with.
Well, the payments that you actually get in those divisions as well, which I think James Leary will probably
mention
in the second part. But
yeah,
listen, all very interesting. I think we want the game to stay interesting. So a third promotion spot sounds good to me on the basis of things. It won't be great for the person that the club that finishes third bottom, but hey ho, that's competition for you.
Yeah.
Quick ones. Brad Cook has been announced as the new manager of Runcorn Linnets.
Yeah, he
after
has.
They sacked their manager recently, so they've got that sorted out rather quickly. Don't know a great deal about Brad. He looks quite young, doesn't he? Right?
He does. Yeah. Oh, Bromley. That was the team. It was Bromley. Yeah, League 2.
There's the Yorkshire accent go down there to Bromley.
Yeah, Bromley, but they're based in Essex, so what do I know? But yes, going back to Runcorn Linnets and Brad Cook. So he's been out of managerial work since April 2023 when he stepped down as the manager of Atherton Collieries. But he is now back in charge. He beat out interest from Paul McNally, who was.
Did he apply for the job?
I don't know whether he applied. He was certainly He was certainly talked about as being interested in it, and also. Josh Kinsey, the manager who was manager of Wythenshawe for all of 8 days or something like that one. He was also in the rumour mill as taking over after Anthony Kay was relieved of his duties at the end of January, despite being 8th or 9th in the league at that time. So Brad Cook has now come in, and he'll look to kind of preserve Runcorn Linnets' promotion.
Well, which we thought was a strange, a strange sacking in the first place, because they were in ninth place when the sacking took place.
And they did base it on Kay's inability to put them exactly where they wanted to be in terms of their ambitions for promotion. Yeah, exactly. They were looking to
playoff minimum.
Yeah.
like I said, that ultimatum was probably there come January if we're not in the playoffs. But listen, you'd be interested to know, and maybe we should get the ex-manager on the show.
Yeah.
But listen, moving on, Chester's manager, Callum McIntyre, has been named the Vanarama National League North Manager of the Month for January, sitting proudly at the top of the league with a 4-point lead over Scunthorpe, albeit they've played a game more. They've had a fabulous run, 10 games unbeaten, going from 12th place to the summit in a matter of weeks. So the award is certainly well deserved. However, they still have issues with supporters spoiling the fun for many. The use of pyrotechnics, flares, smoke bombs and pitch encroachment have caused obvious safety issues. This is a tiny minority now facing being banned, of course. But it's going to have a financial impact on the club if it's not sorted out with security costs and potential fines.
Yeah, absolutely.
And last time we spoke about Chester, we got ourselves into trouble.
We did, so we'll tread carefully here. Yeah,
I'm in support of Chester here, by the way.
100%.
They're doing such a fantastic job that to be let down by a small minority could have a big bearing on their future.
Yeah, it could really. Yeah, and I know that fans are, they're passionate people. They're the reason that we play the game. They're the reason that football is such a beloved sport in this country. But there is
had to play behind closed doors for similar reasons.
They did.
So you've got to be really careful, because if you've got a stadium, less the people, less money, less atmosphere, it's certainly not conducive to winning titles.
Particularly when you're in as tight a fight for promotion as what Chester are. The Scunthorpe are on their tails. You can't count Kidderminster out of it as well. So there is a serious battle going on there in the National League North. And Chester's fans are a really passionate bunch. We have seen that before, but I think it's getting to the stage where the security and the safety of players and supporters is just being compromised, and it takes all the fun out of it. If people aren't behaving, it really kind of disappoints. It does, and you look upon teams like Chester with a bit of an eyebrow raised, as in, your fans are just spoiling the atmosphere. They're spoiling the game. They're not making it nice for anybody, and it'll come back to bite the club in itself, because, as you say, it'll require increased security costs, more stadium stewards. There'll be fines that'll be implemented as well. It'll be a loss of fans who are paying money to see this. They'll be out the door as well. So there's all these kind of knock-on effects.
And listen, they're capable of great banter. I have been in a position many years ago, and I can't really repeat the kind of language used. But my name was once sort of chanted on the terraces at the Diva Stadium. Obviously things that rhyme with Frank, but say no more about that. That might come out one day.
No, this is a family show.
But listen, best of luck to Chester. It'd be nice to see them go on to win that league. I think it's been a long time waiting for success. Chester, so it'd be nice to see that. Now, how about this? This come out before. What do you think about Alan Brazil? Listen, Alan Brazil. He's a great pundit for starters. He's good value for money. But he had something to say about women's football. Do you want to read it out? Do you want to tell them?
Yeah, of course. So, the co-host on Alan Brazil's TalkSport breakfast show was on that day. It was Shaban Ahern, who suggested that getting Manchester United's women's team some silverware should be a primary target. And Alan Brazil was having absolutely none of it. He says, with the greatest respect when discussing Manchester United, women's football is getting more important now, but when you talk about Manchester United, this is the men's we're talking about, the Premier League, when we're talking about Mission Impossible, not the women's. Now, Shaban Ahern insisted that fans do care about the women's fortunes, but Alan Brazil's having absolutely none of it. It's not a priority, he says. People around the women's team are not bothered. It's true, they're not. Within the bigger picture, they simply are not bothered about Manchester United's women's team or getting them silverware.
So, from a speaking frankly point of view, it's difficult to disagree with Alan Brazil, but at the same time, is it the way he said it, which has caused more issues?
If we're speaking frankly, I would say that each. As if you can't really look at Manchester United as a whole. You're either looking at Manchester United men's side or you're looking at Manchester United women's side. And I think it's fair to say the overwhelming majority of people associated with Manchester United as a fan look more to the men's side of the game than the women's side. Because
there's a total different sort of financial structure between the two of them. There's far more riding on the men's team than there is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two different.
The men's side playing at Old Trafford in front of 70,000 plus fans in a competition that's worth millions to the side that wins it, whereas the women's team are playing in Lee, so it's in Greater Manchester in front of, I think their capacity crowd there's about 6,000-7,000, something like that.
Oh, that's incredible.
At the stadium, it's about a 6,000 or 7,000 capacity stadium. I don't know whether they reach that kind of height.
I wouldn't have thought they.
No, but they're playing in there in a women's league that doesn't generate that much income from sponsorships, from TV rights, anything like that one. That being said, I think Manchester United's, as a collective, the agenda has to be split down those who follow the men's and those who follow the women's. And if you ask some, the agenda will be to get Manchester United women's winning a trophy for the significance of what it will do to Manchester United women's football as an institute.
It's clearly important to her, and it's clearly important to those that support women's football.
Yeah,
and I was in a unique position during my first tenure as chairman of SCEM when Liverpool ladies joined the Women's Super League. And prior to that, we used to watch the old Arsenal ladies team, who were fantastic.
They were dominant in their day.
They were battering everyone, and then I think there was Doncaster Bells before that.
Yes, there was. Yeah,
and a great quality of football, but the market value is so different. It's not. It's never going to achieve the levels that the men's game has. That will never change. That's an absolute fact.
I don't think so. No. Although you've got to give it credit, it's growing, and it's growing at an enormous rate. I think probably a bigger rate than what most people would have thought. Particularly when England ladies won the European final in 2022. That was a stunning achievement for women's football in this country. And as you say, I don't think it'll ever reach the level of the men's. Nonetheless, I think for Manchester United women's football, it is important to get a trophy. Whether resources and funds are dedicated towards that, I don't know how much it is. I don't know whether it's, it certainly won't be on par with the men's, not by any stretch of the imagination. But...
So are we saying that Jim Ratcliffe and Manchester United, they fund the ladies' team completely?
I would have thought so. Yeah, I mean, I can't say for 100%.
We already know he's cutting costs.
He is, yeah. It's obviously been a well-known fact, and I think that he's cutting costs purely to supplement the outrageous amount of wasted spendage that's been on the men's side. But I mean, the women's side is not having a great deal of it anyway. They lost their best striker, Russo. I forget her first name, pardon me, but she went to Arsenal, I think, for 400,000, which at the time was a record fee. But then they've lost several sort of key members of their playing squad since then. Their former captain Onabati, gone to Barcelona. The goalkeeper Mary Earps, she's not there anymore. But they're not going for big sums. They're not commanding big sums.
Because there's still not the amount of money in the game that there is in the men's. We'll never get that.
Well, no. I mean, even the world record of amount being paid for a professional in the ladies' game is still not. It hasn't still reached 1 million yet.
No,
it's about 800,000, something like that. When that was Chelsea. Predictably enough, with the big spends.
Well, listen, certainly not mocking the ladies' game, because I've enjoyed watching it, and we need to get some
I have been
female
looking.
managers. We've been
have been looking.
So if there's anybody listening there, anybody involved with local football,
as a female manager or as a female chairman
or a player,
who would like to come on the show, do please let us know. We'd love to have you on to talk.
We can ask you what you think of Alan Brazil, but you can see where he was getting. He got a little bit. He seemed to get a little bit angry, didn't he?
I think certainly.
And was accused of being a dinosaur in the end.
Well, yeah, he was. I think he did play for United at one point as well, didn't he? So he'll understand a lot about how much commitment there is to the men's game.
Does he stand the risk of getting cancelled because of his comments, do you think?
I don't think so, no. I think most people do view him as a bit of a gentle dinosaur, and the amount of coverage he and McCoy command in that breakfast slot. I mean, I listen to it. I listen to it every day. I think it's a great piece of radio. But I think he's wrong.
They're independent broadcasters.
I think he's wrong. I don't think it's a primary target for Manchester United as a whole, but I do think that there are funds that should be allocated towards the Manchester United women's in order to try and maximise that kind of potential, because it's there. They're hanging just outside the top four. I think they finished 3rd or 4th last season under Mark Skinner. They had a decent run in the FA Cup as well. So I think funds should be allocated towards that.
But there always is a pecking order, isn't there? The reserves. There's not as much money goes into a reserve or a youth team, the under 18s or whatever. So it will always be less, and it will always be less than what they actually want. And I'm assuming now with Jim Ratcliffe, he's probably got one eye on either rejuvenating the stadium that they've got or moving. And
we are looking at that one. I think the general consensus is that the majority of United fans who've been asked this would prefer a move to a new stadium, but that would cost hundreds of millions, at least, and it would take a while to implement as well. They'd be looking at about 100,000 seater stadium, maybe just under, something like that.
Because they can accommodate them numbers.
The cost is absolutely bananas, but on this cost-cutting exercise that they're doing, I can't see how they're looking at a stadium implementation at this point, as James will probably tell us in the next part of the show.
And listen, we keep saying that we're expecting football to implode at some stage, and it hasn't done so yet, and I don't think it will.
No, I don't think so. No. I really don't.
Listen, that's the end of the first part of the show. In the second part of the show, we'll be speaking to James Leary. For now, we'll go to a commercial break and see you straight after. Special shout out to all the businesses that support Skelmersdale United Football Club, Origin Sign Company, T&W Garners, 7PDS, Skem Express Cars 5005, Lease Car UK, RNB Auto Centre, SB Skills Solutions and Hey Presto Web Design. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles and the lottery bonus ball scheme, and of course the last man standing. A special thanks to those who organise these fundraising events, especially the incredible Lee Davis and Lucas Bergquist. To all who stand by us both on and off the field, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or call me on 07766 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the second part of the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and our special guest today is the CEO of Marine, James Leary. Welcome to the show.
Cheers, Frank. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Now listen, Marine's ambitious plans to build a new 5,000 capacity stadium were announced earlier this week. We'll come to that in a minute, but I just wanted to find out a little bit more about you, James. Obviously, who's the son of Paul Leary, the chairman. I know a little bit about your dad, but I don't know so much about you. So just tell us about yourself.
I'm almost 40 this year. My background is I was obviously dragged to Marine as a young kid. I had no real choice in the matter. So Marine was sort of in my blood from a young age. Qualified as an accountant in my early 20s, and then was lucky enough to get a job as finance director of Bury Football Club when we were in League One. This is going back to 2016-17. So I spent 18 months there. It was a really good time. It was a challenging time in terms of where they were and how things were financially. But I learned a lot from it. So when I left Bury, obviously came back, got back closer to Marine then, and got more involved and basically became chief exec and just tried to take a lot of the learnings from the brief time I'd spent in the Football League to try and help take Marine forward, really. And that was the aim and how it all started.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about the role of CEO at non-league level.
I think, what everyone knows, the challenges with money basically is the primary challenge. I think at the time, back in 2018, our wage budget at the level was low. We always struggled to compete, as a lot of the local clubs around us do. With lack of revenue and that meaning then you can't give as high a wage budget as you'd like to the team. So for me, the role was around how can we look to create new revenue to put more back into the team. To help their Marine progress on the pitch, and then to go from there. So that was really what it was about. I think probably at the time, Marine didn't have enough of that sort of revenue generation, if you like, and enough thinking around how to generate more revenue and pathways to do that. So that's what it was purely about at the start. How do we move forward in that regard to change the cycle? At the time, Marine had probably finished in the bottom half in the league for 10 years on a bounce. So it was about how do we break that cycle, get more revenue in so we can spend more on the team, to then allow us to start to look up and progress rather than looking down, and that's what we tried to do.
And in terms of generating more revenue, James, how did you go about that?
A lot of it, I mean, you think of your typical, within football, you think of your typical, commercial revenue, hospitality. I did the complete opposite of that, to be honest. It was more around, things outside of the football. How can you generate sustainable revenue so that, even if you're doing well or if you're doing badly on the field, it doesn't really matter. So it was all around aimed at how do we change the club rooms. Marine are lucky in that they're based right on the main high street in College Road. So how can we change things around to get more people in the bars? But also, I say how can you generate stuff not on a match day just to really that you can apply back into the football side. Another thing we did was around Marine Community. We launched Marine Community around that time, and the aim was just to get a lot more people involved, to get the community buy-in, which in turn has meant that the actual stadium itself is now a sort of a busy hub that's used 24/7, 365, as opposed to what it was previously, where it was just used on a match day. So that was what it was about, and also setting targets of where we wanted to get to. We put a plan out that said we wanted to put in a 3G pitch. We wanted to spend all the money renovating the bars. We wanted to create Marine the community. We wanted to set up a women's team, which we didn't have at the time. And all these different aspects to it. We wanted to expand the academy. So there's all these different aspects that all overall made Marine a bigger club, if you like, than it was previously. And then obviously by luck, then we and by excellent, obviously, management by Neil Young, we went out an amazing FA Cup run, which helped accelerate the plan.
Can we come to that a little bit later?
Yeah.
Go on, AJ.
So with all these plans to kind of bring Marine into the community and get it being like a hub, so to speak, that can't have been an immediate, success story in itself, I would assume. Was it easy to get those around you to buy into your idea, or did you have to kind of fight for it?
I think in the main, I've always been well supported by the committee. I think that's for sure. There was a lot of new stuff that may be a little bit different to how things were done previously. Look at Marine community as an example. I saw how things were done at Bury in terms of their community trust. I saw the rise of the likes of, for example, Everton in the community, the LFC Foundation. And I thought, well, just because we're not Everton or Liverpool or we're not in League One at Bury, why can't we aspire to do some of the things that they're doing, albeit on a smaller scale? So, we launched it. It cost us a couple of £1,000 at the start, which they backed us on, and that allowed us then to just really look to galvanise the whole area really into buying into it. So, it was a challenge at the start, and there was different things that to overcome, and it wasn't just a me effort. It's not all about me. It's an effort really by the whole of the committee, by people outside of the committee who also got involved to help and take us forward. And we put in a 5-year plan. We knew where we wanted to get to. We knew how we needed to move the club forward. What I didn't know at the time was where the hell are we going to get all the money from to put in a 3G picture to do the bars. And that's where we did get a lot of luck, because the plan was completely accelerated by the success that we had on the field at the time. But I go back to I think any club that wants to move forward, you've got to have the plan, you've got to have the strategy in place, and then with a bit of luck along the way, you'll get to where you want to get to.
Yeah, smash it. Listen, you had a great season last term with an incredible playoff victory in the Northern Premier League against Macclesfield at Moss Road. Over 5,000 people watched the game in what turned out to be a very tense finish. First of all, what was it like to be involved with the club at that moment, and how long did it take you to come back to planet Earth and plan for the step up?
It was brilliant. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, we going to Macclesfield, I don't think many people backed us to win, let's put it that way. But what we knew is we had a really, really good, honest group of lads. We played well. We had a good little run leading up to it. It was pretty much the same 11 that whole time. They all worked well together. They knew how each other played. We had 3 lads up top, Bobby Grant, Sol Solomon, who's now at Tranmere, and Vince Sinclair Smith, who all were scoring a lot of goals at the time. So I think, we knew it was going to be tough. Not many people backed us, but we knew we had an outside chance, and we knew if we went there and did everything we could to win the game, then hopefully we wouldn't be far away. So leading up to obviously the amount we took over 1,000 fans there, which is definitely our biggest ever away attendance. I think it was about 8 supporters buses, and everyone in the local area, were just so excited by the game. Obviously, Macclesfield are an absolutely huge non-league club. I've had a really good relationship with Robbie Savage over the years, so it was a massive game, and ultimately to go there, to put in the effort the players did. We went 1-0 up through penalty with Vince Sinclair Smith in the first half. So you're sort of pinching yourself at half time, thinking, can we go on to do it? And then about 20 minutes into the second half, Jack Bainbridge, who's now at Chester, scored a second, and then you start to think, right, well, we could do this. And then they got a goal, I think, about 5 minutes after Jack scored to peg it back to 2-1, and it was just a really tense last 15 minutes. But the scenes after the game when we won was just memories that you'll never ever forget. They really don't happen often, as we all know, and how long we've all been involved in football, and they really don't happen often. So for that to happen to us, and the celebrations with all the fans coming on the pitch after the game, was just, I'll say, something we'll never ever forget. And in terms of coming down from cloud 9 pretty quickly, because you realise how big the task is ahead. You look at the National League North and some of the teams that are in there, the Chesters and the Scunthorpes and the Kings Lynn's, and the amount of full-time teams. And we knew we had a lot of work to do. Neil always said that if we made the step up, it'd be tough, especially in the first season. Are we ready for the step up as a club? So there was a lot of hard work to do, and it has been a tough season so far, I think, if we're honest. I think we've been playing catch up since the start of the season, really, in terms of trying to strengthen in the right areas to give us the best chance of staying up. But yeah, it was the summer. It was a tough summer trying to get everything prepared and make the changes in the ground that we've done to sort of make us look a lot more professional and feel like a National League North club, which I've only just finished. We put a new stand in at the far end of the ground this week. We put a scoreboard in that got finished about 2 weeks ago. We've just put a TV gantry in. So bit by bit, as I say, we're playing catch up and we're getting there. So I just hope that we can stay in the league this year, and then hopefully next year we'll be better for it.
Yeah, and I know you've mentioned achieving your benchmarks in the previous 5-year plan. You've also talked about momentum. What would you say is the biggest issue for the club since taking the step up, and how would relegation affect your current business plan?
Biggest challenge since the step up, obviously the stature of the teams we're against. I think, you think you're ready. I was saying to Young, we'll be fine. We are ready, because from a revenue perspective, I was looking at budgets. I thought that, we knew we would be near the bottom, but we'd be competitive. But it's just such a bigger step up, and you don't realise until you get into it how much of a bigger step up it is. And that's where, as I say, we've just been playing catch up in terms of the squad, probably in terms of, the off the field stuff, saying the changes around the ground. But in terms of, if we were to go down, how does that affect the business plan? We started looking for the new stadium 2.5-3 years ago. So that's the major next phase of the business plan. And relatively, when we started looking at it, we were in the league below, but we knew that for the crowds we were getting at that stage in step 3, the club was really maxed out in terms of, or the stadium, was maxed out in terms of, the pressure points around the ground, the lack of movement because of the result of the 3-sided ground. And we just knew that the real next phase of growth was around if we could move stadium, if we could find land to do it. So yeah, it hasn't affected, even if the worst was to happen this year, it doesn't affect anything in that respect. We started looking when we were in step 3, but ultimately, as you use that word momentum, the ideal scenario is that we've been on a massive upward curve over the last 5 years. I don't want to lose, ideally, any momentum in terms of the feeling around the place by getting relegated. And ideally, if we stay up by the skin of our teeth this year, that'll be enough for us.
Yeah, I think I heard you on a podcast during the summer, and you mentioned something about when you get promoted from the Northern Premier League into the National League North, you get £30,000. Is that right?
Yeah, so this year it's actually 38. There's a bit of an increase. So yeah, so you get, I think it goes to distributions. I think you get over 100 million in the Premier League, then it goes something like, I think it's about 8 million now in the Championship, about 1.82 million in League One, then 1.6 million League Two, then it drops to about 125 grand, I think, National League, and then 38,000 this year for National League North. So, you can. I think their numbers aren't too far away anyway. But you can see there's a big drop as you go through, and then step 3, so the Northern Premier League is nothing. But it sounds good, 38,000, and it is when it hits the bank. But the reality is, all it means is that has to go ultimately on wages to be competitive. So there's no upside from a club's point of view. That extra 38,000, you've got a lot of extra travel costs, you've got a lot of extra costs associated with being in National League North, and then you've got increased wage costs. So even though I say it's good when it hits the bank, in the short term, it really doesn't last long in the league.
No, is that an annual payment or is it a one-off when you move up?
Yeah, it's an annual payment.
Right.
It's an annual payment. Yeah, every club receives it. I think it was 20. I think they guarantee it was pretty much fixed. It was 25. But then, if there's any more distribution that flow down from the leagues above, then they pass them down to the clubs as well. So this year, the figure that's come in is 38,000. So you get 25,000 in the summer, I think it is, and then I think next week, or it might have just hit, we've just been given another 13. So it is good. There is support, some level of support there. But it brings a challenge as well, because as well as the fact that the costs just go straight out to players and whatever else, the reality is that this is what drives football, owners wanting to take over football clubs and get promoted and go for broke, because anyone that, for example, takes over a club in the National League North, they know that, a promotion or two, and they're going to be getting £1.6 million in distribution from League Two. So, and it's the same in the Championship. It's the same in the Championship where, anyone that takes over a Championship club and gets £7.5 million know that if they do it and get promoted, that they'll be in the Premier League getting over 100 million. So, it's good that the money's there and there's distribution, but, it's so varied between the different leagues. It just generates that culture of people want to take over clubs and go for broke. And as Marine, a club who are self-sustainable and don't spend behind our means, that makes it difficult for us when we're challenging against multi-millionaires who just want to go for it.
And like you say, travelling costs go up on an annual basis, and of course the higher up you go as well. So it's
exactly
those payments don't sort of they don't.
No, you can say that again.
Yeah.
No, this week, for example, we had Leamington away on Saturday. Then Tuesday night we had a short trip down to Oxford, where every single motorway was closed on the way back after a 1-0 defeat, and we didn't get home till about, I think I got in at 2:45. And then this Saturday we were away at Darlington. So we're travelling literally the full breadth almost of the country.
Yeah.
So the travelling costs alone must be astronomical.
I know. In the National League North, we're doing, I think, 3 overnight stops this year. Needs and Market, down in Ipswich, King's Lynn. Sorry, we were going to do an overnight stop to Oxford, but it was cancelled in the end, which is why we had to go on the Tuesday night. But yeah, the costs are massive, and obviously it's not just the couple of overnight stops. It's the the coach fares with them distances that just explode.
We're averaging when we go to away games about £700-800 for the coach.
£750, yeah.
Yeah. So listen, how hard is it to have a balanced business plan? Because I would imagine you have to do a fair bit of guesswork as well.
It is. Especially coming into a new league. If I go back a few years, the club was in the Northern Premier League, Step 3, for about 20 years plus, and it was a lot easier. My dad would say it was a lot easier to guess because it's the same thing every year, plus or minus 10%. But the issue we've had to the club over the last five years is it's changed so much that you do the budget in the summer, and then everything changes during the year. We don't really know what crowds we're going to get. We don't really know all the ups and the downs, the extra cost in the league. Obviously, you can get an idea, and I speak to different clubs, so you get sort of hints, but until you actually get into it, it's just hard to know. We've done a lot of changes in terms of investment into the club. We spent £250,000 in all the club rooms, but then associated with that now we've got a lot of costs that we didn't have before. Just like last week, we've found out we're going to spend £10,000 on all new fire doors and all fire safety so there's just constant costs that just crop up from nowhere that you don't expect because of the level we're at now. And like £3,000 for football systems. So yeah, it's just a lot of cost, and it's difficult to predict. So we're sort of where we're always close in terms of budget, and now there's ups and downs all over the place, really. And I say trying to maintain the momentum and the revenue, especially when I say we're up against some big clubs with good budgets, and we're just trying to be self-sustainable is really tough going.
Well, listen, we'll come to the average gates and how they've shot up, but we really have to get onto the fantastic cup run in 2021, which culminated in a third round game against Spurs. Obviously, supporters weren't able to attend due to the COVID pandemic, but you managed to raise over £300,000 when you sold, I think it was 32,000 virtual tickets. First of all, whose idea was it, and what kind of impact has it had on the club? I'll say it was mine, but I'll say it was there was probably a few people together, really, just trying to sit down and work out how we could generate cash. I think at the time we were really, really frustrated because we'd had an unbelievable run, but we played. I think the first 3 games we played weren't behind closed doors. We played. Forget now. It was
it was Barnoldswick in the first round, then 50 Athletic in the second, then Nantwich in the third, and all them, I think there was gates between 200 and 300 on average. But then we played Chester in the fourth qualifying round, which was the biggest. Obviously it would have been a big tie with probably, let's say, 2,500 there, and that was the first one that was behind closed doors, so that was frustrating. But then we won that. Then we got drawn away to Colchester United. The gate would have probably been 3,500, but again, it was behind closed doors, so we didn't get any money from it. Then in the second round, we played at home to Havant and Waterlooville, who at the time they were in the National League South, so it was 2 levels above. And again, it was behind closed doors. So even though we'd made it to the third round, from a revenue perspective, we'd literally we'd made the prize money from winning each game. That was it, which was, I think at the time it was about, let's say, 70,000-80,000. So don't get me wrong, it was an absolute massive number for Marine, 70,000-80,000 £. But for a club to make it, past the second round proper, in any other given year, you'd probably get, I don't know, $250,000 or maybe a bit less, but not far off. So we were just really frustrated. And then obviously you're drawn against Tottenham Hotspur, which is an unbelievable draw. We were absolutely over the moon. Your dreams as a football club are coming true. But then I'm sat there and I'm thinking, well, from a revenue perspective, again, it's not, we're going to get a TV fee, which again is £70,000, and that's an unbelievable amount. But how could we look to maximise it? At the same time, everybody nationally and worldwide as well, there was massive attention on the game, and everyone felt sorry for the fact that our fans just couldn't go in and watch the game. It was something that every fan would look forward to, and there were so many devastated people that had supported Marine for 30, 40, 50 years and longer that couldn't go and watch. So it was about, what can we do to try and take the opportunity, really. And now that we had that really buy-in from everybody, so we basically came up with the idea. And what it was about, it wasn't just can people buy a virtual ticket. It was around knowing the fact that we had lots and lots and lots of people who were finding out about Marine for the first time, and how can we really bring them on the journey of Marine Football Club over that period of time and help them to try and buy into what we were doing. So there was a long period between the second round and the third round. I think it was about 5-6 weeks from when the draw was made at the end of November to when we played Tottenham on the 10th of January. So we basically just put a schedule in for the 6 weeks to do things like content videos about the history of Marine Football Club, who our famous fans are, and how we were formed back in a pub back in 1894, a local pub, and that's how we took our name. How we had a Guinness World Record. Rolly Howard is our longest Devon manager, and we just tried in the video to sort of bring out who Marine Football Club were, with the aim of really looking to galvanise support, really, and get buy-in from people that wanted to come on the journey with us. So that was one idea. We did a lot of stuff with Tottenham Hotspur, working with them to try and get their fan base to try and buy into what we were doing, which they did as well. And we tried to do some humour into it, bring some humour into it as well. I remember on the morning of the game, we did a joke about Mesut Özil, and said that the night before, Arsenal had offered us Mesut Özil on loan in the game. At the time, he was out of the Arsenal team. He couldn't even, I think he was on the bench or couldn't even make the bench. And we said they had offered him to us, but we basically didn't want to take him. And it just got like 40,000 likes on Twitter from almost all from Tottenham fans, and just things like that. Really, we just tried to try and maximise the opportunity from it. And luckily, we were in the right place at the right time in terms of being in COVID. We got the best draw we could have possibly have drawn with, obviously, Jose Mourinho and Tottenham, who, when at the time the draw was made, who were top of the league. So we got an incredible amount of luck, and we just tried to seize on the opportunity as best as we could. We had lots and lots of goodwill. We had Jamie Carragher, who found out that sponsor who's agreed to give us £20,000 for the dugout had cancelled. We had a guy called George Davis. He rang up someone we never knew existed, rang up the club, spoke to my dad and the secretary Richard, and said he wants to make a donation to the club. And when he basically asked for the bank details. So next minute he said, just before he hung up, he said, "Just so you know, I'm genuine." He said, "My name's George Davis." He said, "I was the founder of Next," and he said, "I was the founder of Georgia Asda." That he was named after me. And then 10 minutes later, he'd put £10,000 into the bank. So we were just so lucky with the amount of support that we got from so many people. But we'll never ever forget it. And
it was an absolute masterstroke, to be fair. But you couldn't really, when you started out on that journey, you couldn't have imagined it would have had as a significant impact as it did.
No, absolutely not. At the time, we actually started the virtual tickets, and obviously, as you said, we sold 32,000 tickets in the end. But when we actually did it, the lockdown rules changed, and initially we thought we'd have an attendance of 600. We'd be limited to 600. So the aim when we started it was, can we sell 600 virtual tickets and make £6,000? And then all of a sudden we're sat there the day after the match, having sold 32,000 tickets, thinking, how the hell has that just happened? And as I say, it could have been any club. We were just really, really lucky that we were in the right place at the right time, in what was a terrible, terrible time for everybody, in terms of COVID and the backdrop of that. And luckily, everybody, the whole country, and I'll say people further afield, just really got behind us. And as I say, it's just completely and utterly changed our worlds and our last 5 years.
And it obviously helped towards your plans from that point onwards in terms of installing a artificial pitch. But looking at your plans for the future, keeping Rosser Park and generating money from the synthetic pitch put you in a really strong position before you move to the new site. Can you explain a little bit more about the plans? They look fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on it now for probably about 2.5 years. We basically just got to a point where, everyone knows who's been to Marine the limitations of the ground. We worked hard for about 6 to 9 months with the council to see, what changes can we do. And ultimately we got to a point where the council said it's at its limit. We won't let you put an extra stand in there, an extra stand in there. We won't allow the attendance, the capacity to increase beyond 4,000 because we don't want that many people exiting onto College Roads after the game. We won't let you put turnstiles at the far end of the pitch, and that isn't criticising the council. I understand, that it's so limited, it's so locked by housing. It's a difficult position to be in, but ultimately we wanted to go down the route first of seeing if we could make our ground fit for purpose to progress as a club. And then when we sort of hit them issues and we realised we couldn't take it any further, then it was the time to actually say, right, well, now we need to really look to see if we can try and find another site. So that was what we did. And so that was, I think it was the back end of 2021 initially. And then we sat down with the council, looked literally on Google Earth with an open canvas and said which sites are big enough to host a new football stadium, and we identified just over 20 sites, which was like a mixture of... Could you give
me a comparison between your current ground now and the 8.3 acre site? What, in terms of size, does that double what you've got, or...?
Yeah, so there's basically a football pitch is 2 acres, and the size of all of our land now, including all the bars and everything around the edge, the full boundary is 3 acres. Yeah. So you can see we've only got an extra acre on top of the outside of the pitch. So going now obviously to 8 acres, it's basically a massive increase. From if you forget about the pitch for a second, it's going from 1 acre up to 6 acres of space. So it's an absolute seismic change, really. But by the same token, my dad's put 25 years into that stadium, the land. We've all worked hard over the last 5 years to invest, not just shy of probably £1 million overall, including the function rooms and the bars, to make it what it is. And what we really don't want is to just give all that away and sell it when it's a really good community hub. It's right in the heart of Crosby. It's busy right through the day, and it's just a really good place to be. So we don't want to lose what we're proud, especially my dad is so proud, and he should be of what's being built up, and that's why really. We wanted the aim to be let's retain that site, let's keep that community hub, let's keep that 3G pitch that we've worked so hard to create. But can we create a new football stadium that is fit for purpose for the next stage of growth, where we're not panicking about FA rule changes potentially meaning that things like runoffs and things like that if things go against us, that potentially it could harm our future as a football club. And let's get to a stadium that's got a bit more space, got more room to manoeuvre in terms of scope for what we want to do there, in terms of revenue generation, in terms of not being a ceiling of where we can go. I mean, I remember when I first started, obviously with my dad, when I'm going back to when I was 10, 11, they won the league in 95, the Northern Premier League, and couldn't go up because of the ground. And there was just a complete stigma around Crosby that the club's just not going anywhere. It was difficult to sign players because no players wanted to come to a club that didn't want to go anywhere. And that lasted probably for more than 20 years, probably 30 years, until the FA Cup run against Tottenham. And then that negativity completely disappeared. There was a complete renewed energy about Marine and its potential because of the increased crowds. But we didn't want to get back to the position where we got to our limit again, couldn't get promoted, and then all of a sudden you're back in that spiral we were in the mid-90s. So it was just about how can we solve that. And I say the route we thought we had to go down was to explore if there was any sites to look to move to, which obviously we've done.
How close are the plans to coming to fruition? I know you've raised a lot of money, but I think you've still got a fair way to go. Is that right?
Yeah, so the total. It's not. For anyone that thinks it's done, we've just got to really roll our sleeves now and work so hard to make sure that we can make it a reality, because we've got a great chance. We've got land signed that at one stage I didn't honestly think was ever going to happen, because there were so many hurdles and barriers over so many sites we looked at. So now we're in a position where we need planning from the council. Again, that's not a shoe-in. We're going to have to hopefully get support from the council, and hopefully we will. But it's not it's greenbelt land, and we need to make sure, which is our exactly what we want to do, that it's a good community benefit scheme, and that the benefit of the whole project outweighs any negativity. So there's that side of it in terms of planning that we've got to get through, and then also, as you say, we've got the funding side. So the total build is £8 million. We're lucky that we've been gifted the land or for £1 by Bellway Homes, and they've offered £2.5 million as a contribution towards the build, which has given us the platform we needed. To be honest, we haven't got any millionaires involved in Marine. Everyone knows. We haven't got loads of cash in the bank like some people think. We're just sustainable now as it is, but we haven't got loads of spare cash. So we needed something to get us going, and luckily that contribution from Bellway Homes is massive. So to complete the full build, it's another £5.5 million. But crucially, we don't have to do it as a full build straight away. We're looking to do it as a potential multi-stage build, where we just, for example, build a couple of stands at the start, and then can move in and then progress as and when we get the funds with the other two stands further down the line. So we really need to make it a functional stadium. It needs to be £5.5 million plus. So we need another £3 million. And it's about how can we explore every avenue we can in terms of grant funding. We look at Football Foundation, Sport England that we're speaking to, but many other capital grant holders that we've sort of, and now that we've got the land secured, and now that we've got the drawings done and the CGIs and people aware of it, now we can start to progress and speak to these funders to see what we can hopefully through all the community benefit that hopefully the stadium will add, how much grant funding we can get towards it. And ultimately, if people don't support us on it, it's not going to happen. It's as simple as that. But I say we've got to work so hard at the football club now to do everything we can to make sure that now we've got this really exciting opportunity that we can make it to happen. I'd rather, and I said we did a couple of nights for season ticket holders where we presented the plans, and I said, I'd rather fail trying than not try at all.
Yeah. In terms of timescales, have you got any timescales in your mind? I assume that's a difficult one to imagine.
Yeah, well, so I mean, Bellway driving the timetable at the moment, so they're looking to put. So they're basically the beauty of Bellway is they're funding the pre-application costs and the planning costs, which they run into 6 figures on their own. So they're at the moment they're preparing to submit a pre-application to the council, which they're looking to do end of March, early April. Then we're going to get the feedback from the pre-app, and then obviously decide on the plan application then. So I think they're planning to submit the first plan application by the end of the year, and then it just obviously depends what happens then. If it's approved first, it would be absolutely fantastic, but it may not be, and then you've got to obviously work out the next step. So I mean, people, it's been a real eye-opener the last 2.5 years. I think people who think about a new stadium, I know there's other clubs like AFC Liverpool have been trying for years in the location, obviously, where they want to move to. Obviously, City Liverpool have been trying for years as well. And anybody who thinks, and I probably thought it myself years ago, you see a football club build a new stadium, you think, it's straightforward enough. You get land and you build a stadium, but the amount of hurdles and hoops you have to go to has been an absolute massive eye opener, and it's taken
we definitely
so much
know
time.
that.
Of course, exactly. We've all been there, and it's a horrendous experience to have to go through.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have to sit down at some stage and pick your brains. You do realise that, don't you?
That's fine. Yeah, that's obviously no problem at all. No problem at all.
But listen, you're really set up well in terms of you're currently 8th in the attendance table in the National League North. With a gate of an average of 1,300, and there's some big shooters above you. Really is like Chester, Darlington, Hereford, Kidderminster, Scarborough, Scunthorpe, and South Shields, which you'd expect. But to get above the likes of Chorley and Southport shows how far the club has come in a short space of time.
It is. I think obviously the momentum has been massive, and we've kept progressing. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years if, for example, we stay hovering either around the bottom half of the National League North, or if if the worst was to happen this year. Hopefully, I'd like to think that people will stay with us, and if they could stay around that level, then fantastic. But it is a challenge. South, obviously, as you say, there's some big clubs in the league, and if we can hold it around that over the next couple of years, as obviously we finalise the plans for the new ground, that'd be perfect. But as I say, competing against such massive clubs, and this is where the challenge comes, and this again goes back to the new ground, that it's all about revenue streams, and unless there's someone putting in money, look at, as one example, Kings Lynn, they've got somebody who's putting a lot of investment into the club from Singapore, so that's okay for them. But for us, we haven't got that. So for us to be able to compete with Kings Lynn, we have to generate more revenue so we can match them in terms of, or get close to them in terms of budget. So that's where the new ground comes in again, in terms of what can we put in the new ground to make sure that we do get that revenue, so that we can sustain National League North football with all these big clubs around us.
Listen, you're definitely putting yourself in the shop window there, though, aren't you? Because we've looked at Real Bedford and the Bitcoin, the merger with Bedford Town, and what's going on there, and hashtag United, the Wrexham story. Salford as an example. So you're certainly putting yourself in the shop window. But listen, I've always thought that under your dad's stewardship, you've always been a well-run club. But who is the real steady Eddie? Because it must be easy to get ahead of yourself at times. Who keeps the ship steady?
Yeah, my dad's 100%. I mean, I think everyone that knows, me and my dad have knocked heads quite a few times over the last 5 years. But we both know that it's for the good of the Marine Football Club, and we make up after it. We come from different angles all the time, and sometimes he's right, and sometimes I'm right. And when I'm wrong, and when he's wrong, he's wrong. But then you come to a place where you hopefully keep just improving things by getting to the right decision, and that's what it is. But in terms of Steady Eddie, I mean, he's been a class act over the last 20 years. In terms of his financial point of view, he manages everything so well, and his reporting and exactly where things are in every area of the club financially, and that then gives you it gives you all the the information you need to go and make changes and keep trying to improve things, really.
Would you say you're the sort of youth and zest that's pushing things a little bit more forward, testing the old man?
I'm not sure about that.
No.
Listen, I don't know. No, he's still, he's still full of new ideas. He's still as passionate as he ever was. Even though I think he's 71 now, but he's still as passionate now and as hard working as he ever was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, listen, he's a great man. Listen, what's your message moving forward to the supporters?
Message going forward is stick with us. We're trying. We're playing this season. We're playing. It's been an incredible experience going to some new grounds. We've been obviously playing catch up. We're trying to do everything we can to stay in the league. We've got an absolute brilliant manager in Neil Young, who's done unbelievable for us over the last 5-6 years. And we're going to do everything we can to stay up, and we've got, hopefully we'll keep the momentum going. The new ground, we'll keep the excitement going, and just see where we end up. As I say, if we don't get to where we want, it won't be for the lack of trying.
Yeah, listen, it's a fantastic story, and we wish you the best of luck. Just a quick question: have you got Mourinho's text? Have you got his mobile number?
No. I don't know. No, I don't think even Neil has. In fact, funnily enough, we tried to get friendly with them to raise funds for the new ground. So we'll see if anything develops from that.
Listen, like I say, absolutely fabulous story. Best of luck for the rest of the season, and good luck with the project. It's an amazing plan which can only benefit the local community and the club, of course.
That's brilliant. Honestly, thanks for your time, Frank. Thanks, AJ. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All the best.
Cheers. Guys. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Special shout out to all the businesses that support Skelmersdale United Football Club: Origin Sign Company, T&W Garners, 7PDS, Skem Express Cars 5005, Lease Car UK, RNB Auto Centre, SB Skills Solutions, and Hey Presto Web Design. Thank you to everyone who donates to the club, supports our race nights, raffles, and the lottery bonus ball scheme, and of course the last man standing. A special thanks to those who organise these fundraising events, especially the incredible Lee Davis and Lucas Bergquist. To all who stand by us both on and off the field, we are truly grateful. If you wish to sponsor the show, please contact me at chairman.skemutdfc@gmail.com or call me on 07766 054 548. All proceeds will go to Skelmersdale United Football Club. Thank you for your unwavering support. Hello and welcome to the third and final part of the Speaking Frankly Football Show. And alongside me again, he's still here.
I'm still here.
AJ Vijet.
Hello.
What a fantastic interview with James Leary.
Man, the insight that guy has into how to build a business from football. I mean, we talked about a lot of football on the pitch, but that was a really, really good insight into how to do it off the pitch and how to kind of build it not necessarily around the squad, but around the community and around the preservation of what's been there beforehand. He's a brilliant CEO with a magnificent insight in how to do it, and we've learned so much from him in that time.
Well, I think people highlighted it last week when we had Steve Leather on and Sean Lynch. That we're learning things that we didn't necessarily know, and we certainly learnt a few more things off. James and I will definitely be definitely bending his ear in the future, because I think it's fantastic that they've got to this stage, and even if they have to do it incrementally. build a stadium in stages, then so be it. I think they're very, very determined. Like I say, his dad is probably the steadying influence, being an accountant. They're very careful with the pennies. He's a trained accountant himself as well, isn't he? So obviously James is he's careful with the money anyway. So there's one eye on that. And
something to think about when we start building Skem Stadium.
Yeah, and listen, we've said it. The various people that we've spoken to. What you can't afford to do is you can't afford to take your foot off the gas. No. So you keep working as hard as you can, but I've said it before, somewhere along the line somebody will throw us a bone and we can run with it.
There we go.
Definitely believe that, and I think that's happened in a lot of the instances and the stories that we've talked about lately. So listen, absolute best of luck to James Leary, his dad Paul, the chairman, and obviously the supporters there. We'll be keeping one eye on that, and we'll keep you up to date on that throughout the rest of the series and during the summer as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so moving on to the sort of fixtures and our predictions, the expert analysis, as we call it.
Expert in inverted commas there, yeah. So we will be starting
tonight.
With tonight, yeah, absolutely. So at this very moment in time that you're listening, depending on what time you're listening, our buddies at Burscough are travelling up to the Avro Sports facility to take on Chadderton in the Friday Night Lights game. So Chadderton, their promotion pushes is taking a little bit of a wobble. They're sitting in fourth right now. They're still not out of the equation, but you'd be looking to consolidate the playoffs rather than pushing for that automatic promotion spot. They're not on a great run of form either. No win in the last 4 games either.
But they had a decent draw against Padiham on
they did. That was a very creditable draw by all accounts. But
we didn't mention, strangely enough, Burscough's previous result in the last. I didn't until we come to the end of it, and I thought, I'm going to the end of mentioning Burscough. But what it was a printing error, so it didn't actually print off the result of Burscough. So we apologise to Burscough for not mentioning the last result. That said, they'd lost that particular game, I think, hadn't they? So I don't think they didn't want to be reminded about that.
Looking at it, I'm just trying to. Yeah, as you say, it's not there, but we'll have a look to see. Didn't they win it?
Yeah, listen, we cover what's going on now. So Chadderton, Burscough, yes. What are you looking at there? Do you think it's?
I think Chadderton and Burscough are going to draw this game. I'd say that the runs of form for both teams is quite sketchy at the minute. There's no real consistency. There's not really much in the way of goals versus concessions either. Chadderton on -1, Burscough on 0. As far as goal difference is concerned, I believe this is going to be a draw.
Yes, listen, I'm going to go for Burscough on this occasion.
Alrighty.
I'm going to go for them. I think they might have just enough about them to pull off what do you call it, a shock result, maybe?
A much-needed win.
Much-needed win for them. And listen, those invites to any managers or chairmen of football clubs or directors of football, chairpersons, I should say, you're more than welcome to come onto the show. So if you've had an invite, reply to them.
We'd like that.
Most of you have. Some of you haven't. So moving on to the Premier Division this Saturday, and it's apart from the first game tonight, this is a full fixture list, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So we've got 2 o'clock kickoffs, which we'll come to first of all. One which takes place in Cheadle, the other one in Glossop. So Cheadle Town at home to South Liverpool. So Cheadle Town on a really decent run of form. They're kind of train of wins at the minute. A couple of little skids in the road, 1 draw and 1 loss, but that's been offset by 4 wins and 11 goals scored and 3 goals conceded, which is it's the best defence in the division as far as the last 6 games are concerned. So with that in mind, I would think home win for South Cheadle. For Cheadletown, sorry.
Most definitely, I'm going for Cheadletown there.
Yep. Now, this one's a really interesting one because once upon a time, FC Isle of Man were right there in the promotion playoff spots. They since had a major dip in form, and they're now hanging around in 8th place. They couldn't hold on against Bury last time out. But
it's a difficult one for them, though. They've travelled all the way over to Bury on a Tuesday.
Yes.
And then they're doing the same on Saturday. They're travelling out to Manchester and to play Glossop. There's an awful lot of travelling involved.
It's a very early start for the FC Isle of Man guys.
But they've got a better chance on a Saturday game than they have in the midweek, because I would have thought getting the players over, the same bunch of players over week in, week out, and not easy for them.
It's miles easier, I think, to do it on a Saturday, but it's an earlier kick-off, so I don't know whether that'll stand them in good stead or not. That being said, Glossop North End, on continuing their good run.
I'm going for Glossop anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Glossop because we like Brodie and we believe in what he's doing there, and I think that win against Prestwich Hayes comes all in handy for the visit of FC Isle of Man. So home win for us there. Now, AFC Liverpool versus Ramsbottom United.
Potential banana skin and squeaky bum time for the Rams.
Very much squeaky bum time for the Rams. So they've lost the long-held position at the top of the Premier Division, thanks in part to the exploits of Longridge Town. But AFC Liverpool, it's a bit of a different proposition there. They're 11th in the league, but they're on a bit of a poor run of form. One win in their last.
It's been very topsy-turvy for them, hasn't it?
It really has, yeah. And I think if you are Steve Wilkes, you want to get right back on that bike and.
I think they've got enough about them to do exactly that.
Too.
And listen, the one question we didn't ask there, of course, the AFC Liverpool play at the Marine Travel Arena, and I'm assuming if they don't find themselves a piece of land between now and when the new ground is up and going, will they be playing at the new ground or the Marine Travel Arena? I would imagine it'll be
the Marine Travel Arena.
I would imagine so.
Assuming that they don't find a piece of land, which that's not easy for any club at our level. It requires an awful lot of time and investment, and they can't get it done within a year. No.
Yeah, listen, the Barnoldswick versus Litherland Remacher at the Silent Night Stadium, probably the only stadium in the country where you can sleep in your executive box at the back of your garden with the heater on. At least you can do a multitude of things there.
Ian Nutter, man, he had the right idea. As long as he's paying a bit towards the club, I'm sure they don't mind. But absolutely stunning. It was a great story. I don't think he will oversee a Barnoldswick win. Just one in the last 6, but otherwise it's 5 straight losses, 9 goals scored and 17 conceded, which is the third most in the division, worsened off only by Pilks and Squires Gate.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, but I'm going to go for a home win though. Still,
you're going to go for a Barnoldswick win?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so this is a bit of a tricky one. I'm going to say a draw here. I'm going to go for a draw. It's Little and Remacher.
Yeah, listen, it's definitely got the sounds of a draw. It looks as though it could be. But listen, Charnock Richard versus West Disbury, I think that's an interesting one.
That's a really great fixture, that one. That's 2 giants in the promotion spots there. Charnock Richard in 9th, West Disbury in Chorlton in 5th. Charnock Richard with a brilliant kind of home record here. Just lost 4 games, lost 4 at home all season. Bettered only by about 4 clubs. Whereas West Disbury and Chorlton on their travels, mixed bag, 6 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. So it's a pretty favourable, away fixture really, if you like. But that being said, I'm going to say a draw here.
Yeah, and listen, I've got it already down. I've got to draw this. So I'm not just copying off you there, but I totally agree with you.
Now then, Longridge Town, upsetters of the Rams against Abbey Hay. Yeah, so Abbey Hay on a bit of a downward spiral at the minute. A draw and 2 losses in the last 3 games. Not finding much luck within in front of goal. It's just the 5 scored in the last 6, which is the lowest in the division. With Longridge having kind of done what they've done against Ramsbottom, they're going to be on an absolute high. They're scoring goals quite well. They've scored 10 across the last 6, but have conceded 10 as well. So I am going to say Longridge Town.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there.
Yeah.
Longridge, I think the home advantage.
Yeah, and I think home advantage plays a significant role in this next fixture, which is Lower Breck versus Colne. So Colne, as we said in the first part, on a really good renaissance run here, 10th best form in the division.
Potential banana skin though for Lower Breck.
Potential banana skin, possibly. If they can keep Jude Entwistle at bay, which I think Lower Breck probably can do, then I would think that they've got a really good chance here. So they've conceded, 40 goals across the division, which isn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's probably about the 3rd or 4th best in the division. So I'm going to say a home win there.
Yeah. I'll go for a home win as well.
And I think it's going to be the same for this next fixture, which is Padiham versus Earlham.
Yeah, they're both one space apart from each other in terms of the league, but goal for difference in terms of games. Padiham have got 5 games in hand on them. Listen, I'm going along with the Padiham. I think Padiham will win that all day long.
Yeah, so do I. They've played 5 games less than Earlham, but they've won more at home than what Earlham have won away, and I think that counts for an awful lot there. Padiham a home win for me.
Yeah, I'm going Padiham. Listen, the big fixture is the St Helens derby.
Yeah.
Pilkington versus FC St Helens.
Yeah.
I can only see one winner coming out of that, but I think it's going to be a tough game. I think a lot of points to prove there. One team is doing particularly well moving forward. Pilks sort of haven't moved after the great promotion a couple of seasons ago. They've not kicked on really in that division, albeit they've managed to sort of consolidate. I think FC St Helens have shown greater signs of improvement.
Prosperity, 100%.
And then, like we say, Jefferson Montero there as well.
Great.
I think he could play a big part in that. And I think there'll be a nice, healthy gate at that one. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
And if I wasn't going to Alsage yet, I think that's probably the game would have been.
That's where you would go with it. Yeah. I think you're probably right. So for me, I'm going to say an away win as well. I think FC St Helens, with that win the other week, they arrested a 4-game losing streak, whereas Pilks are still in the middle of their own 4-game losing streak, but conceding goals at a bit of a rapid rate. 18 across the last 6, which is 3 goals a game. Yeah. So you've got to say that the opportunity is there for FC St Helens to
most definitely.
Yes.
Prestwich Hayes, who can shock teams. We know that they're at home to Bury. There's going to be a big gate there. Nice little payday for Prestwich.
That's a local derby, isn't it? Prestwich versus Bury.
Yeah, it's another derby, isn't it? Really.
That's it, the Bury derby. But this one, I think the points will be heading back to Gig Lane. I think
they've got a bit of momentum now, haven't they?
Oh, serious, yeah. DJ Pedro's in the form of his life right now, and I think he's going to... I wouldn't be surprised if we come back in a week's time and he's been on the score sheet for that one.
Yeah, well, listen, we go for Bury then, yeah?
Yes.
Stockport Town versus Squires Gate. I can't see Squires Gate winning this one, but they certainly need to. Yeah. But then they've played 36 games, and, there's teams with 4... Cone have got 4 games in hand on them Prestwich's have got a game in hand. Pilkinsons have as well.
South Liverpool, Longridge, they're running out of time. They really are.
Yeah, this is listen, to get out of that bottom two there. Prestwich, you managed to do it. Get a string of results together, and it's a possibility. But Stockport Town.
Yeah, for me, Stockport Town too.
Stockport Town. So that's the first division over. So we move over to the Division 1 South.
Yes, we do.
And just looking at that, the Division 1 South is correct. Yeah, there's 7 games in total. So that's there's only 2 teams not playing on that particular. There's 4 games. There's 2 games not included in there. But let's start with All Scott Heath versus Barnton. Yeah, under new management, Barnton.
They absolutely are, yeah, and he's got a big job on his hands. His team are second from bottom of the league, but they're on a dreadful run at the minute. 1 win in the last 6 games with 5 losses, and 19 goals conceded with just the 5 scored, which is the lowest in the division by quite a bit. So. Got a bit of a job on his hands. Don't think he'll get the result he wants against All Scott Heath, who are, steady. I think is probably the word we're looking for. Unbeaten in the last 3.
It's difficult
picking up
to
points
generate
here and there and everywhere.
Yeah. It's difficult to generate stability, isn't it, when you at this level when you bring a new management team in? Albeit Runcorn managed to do it with their.
They did, as did Foley so you can never write them off. But I don't think this will be the same this time around.
Let's go for All Scott Heath.
Yes, we will.
Yep.
Cheadle Heath Nomads versus Camel Laird.
Yeah.
So Camel Laird, 3 wins and 3 losses, so they're really kind of up and down at the minute. Cheadle Heath Nomads, they were on a decent winning run, but have now gone 3 without a win. Quite high scoring team. Scored 15, which is I think the 3rd highest in the division right now. Currently sitting in 4th place, so they want to stay really in that promotional fight. I think it will be a Cheadle Heath Nomads win, but only just.
Yeah, I'm going along with that as well.
Okay. Now this one is an interesting fixture.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
It is in many ways because Runcorn Town still not out of the jeopardy in terms of the position in the league.
No, they're not. They're only 5 points ahead of Shawbury United, although having the benefit of a bit of a healthier goal difference. That being said, their run of form it's all right. They were 4 unbeaten before last week, and then they lost. So Foley by contrast, won 3 straight games before losing at the weekend, and they are just that little bit higher. They're 13th in the table, just 3 points ahead of Runcorn Town. So you should imagine that they would sort of be reasonably safe. I'm going to say a draw here.
Yeah.
Purely on the basis.
I think they're all difficult games. And what we have to appreciate now is that we're all running out of games as well, aren't we? You know what I mean?
Season's coming to a close, yeah.
Yeah, there's very few games left, and I think it's at this sort of stage of the season where you've got to build a head of steam.
You do, yeah.
And I'm going to go for Runcorn Town. All
right, fair enough. New Mills against Sandbach, so I can't really see any other result other than a Sandbach United win. 3rd place in the table. 4 wins from the last 6, despite having conceded more goals than what they've scored. It's slightly bizarre, but I think they'll turn that around, and I think they'll win.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to go for a draw.
All right, fine.
Yeah, I can just got sort of like a premonition there, and just seeing like a 2-2 there.
All right, fair enough, no worries.
So listen, if that's correct,
What a result that is for
I want the contents if you want it.
All 3 pence in it.
That'll do me.
Right, Shawbury versus Stafford. You can only really see one result here.
Yeah. Listen, it's actually nice to see that the top 3 teams are actually playing those ones that are, well, the top 2 certainly that are in contention. So I can't see Shawbury United, although they've had a they've had 1 or 2 decent results lately. They have,
of late, but Stafford have been having good results all season, really. They're having a bit of a wobble at the minute, a draw, 2 draws and a loss in the last 6, but you'd expect them to get back on track here.
Yeah, so we're going for Stafford.
Yes, we are. And Stockport Georgians against Abbey Holton. For me, that is going to be an away win.
Yeah, but totally agree with you there. Winsford versus Wolverhampton Sporting Community. It's the W Derby.
It is the W Derby. And Winsford based in Warrington. Warrington down to Wolverhampton. Yeah, all the W's here. And it's going to be a Winsford win over Wolves in Warrington.
Absolutely, most definitely. You can't see that going any other way.
No.
So now, it'll still be tight at the top.
I think so.
Whatever the result.
It will, yeah. So there's 3 points gap between Stafford in second and Winsford in first. Both teams having played the same amount of games.
10 games to go?
Yeah, 10 games to go. Sandbach aren't technically out of the equation in third place with 51 points, but you have to say that this is a bit of a 2-man dogfight, really, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. So we'll move on to the
Glamour Division.
Division 1 North, and we'll come to our...
we'll
come to our... We're not playing a competitive game this weekend, but we'll come to the more details on that one.
At
the end, Ashton Town versus Droylsden. Now, Ashton Town have been doing particularly well lately, haven't they? So.
They have, yes. So they are on a 4-game winning run and 5 wins in the last 6, epitomised by a really steadfast defence that's only conceded 5 across those 6 games. Now, Droylsden have been really consistent all season long, but they are known to scrape results or just get kind of one goal to secure them the win. I don't think this is going to be as easy as what the paperwork would say it is, and I'm going to say a draw here.
Yeah, but I think they're doing particularly well at the moment, Ashton Town, and I see them pulling off a win, and it won't be a shock if they do, but then I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw or a Droylsden win either. But I'm not going to cover all my pockets in that one. I'm going to stick my neck out, and I'm going to say Kevin Towie and Ashton Town are going to do the business there.
There we go. Alrighty, so then we head up to Burnley for Baycup versus Blackpool.
Yeah.
At the Brian Boys.
Brian Boys Westview Stadium. That's a strange name, isn't it? I've never heard of that one before.
No,
I didn't even know it was that when we went there.
No, I didn't.
Did they change the name?
Don't think so. I mean, it's iconic just for having a tractor parked behind the goal. But love little niche stadiums like that one, though. Yeah. As for the game, I'll keep it short and simple. I know Baycup won their last game against Thornton Clevelands. I don't expect the same result this time around against a free scoring and freely winning AFC Blackpool team. That's an away win for me.
Most definitely. The one sort of fixture that we'll be keeping an eye on is Garstang versus Steeton. If form is to go, if the form table suggests that Steeton are going to win this game.
You've got to bear in mind that 2 of those last 6 results were against us. And 8 of their 15 goals scored were against us, which is over half, sadly. That being said, I think Steeton have enough power. I don't think their position in the table belies how good football they do play. So that's an away win for me.
Yeah, away win for me. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Garstang pulls something off here, because I did say last week's game against Ashton Athletic, I could see them getting a result against them.
Yeah, I think you did predict as such.
Well, listen, we just got to concentrate on what we can do. Holker Old Boys versus Darwin.
That's a really interesting one, that. Holker Old Boys 6th in the form table, Darwin in 7th, and as far as the actual table is concerned, Holker Old Boys in 4th, Darwin in 6th. Now,
I think Hulk are always hard to beat at their own place.
Yeah, I think they are. And I think that'll probably be what secures them the points this time around. So it's home win there. So Maghull against Main Road. So Maghull...
That's the M Derby?
The M Derby, yes.
So
we're just finding little ways to call things a derby, goodness me. Anyway, Maghull came really close, to taking something out of their last game against... Who was it they played in their last game? Who did they play in the last game? Was it Nelson?
Maghull? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, it was Nelson. Wasn't it?
It was Nelson. Yeah. Obviously, the last minute goal kind of put paid to any hopes of a draw. But it's a really good fight that they showed against a team that are right up there at the top. Now, Main Road, by contrast, have one win in their last 6 games and have scored 14, conceded 19, 4 straight losses in a row. You'd bet on a home win here.
Yeah, go for the goal.
Yes. Now, this one's going to be quite intriguing because Route 1 Rovers may be third from bottom of the table, but they themselves can play some really good football on their day. Daisy Hill, by contrast, may have, sort of be halfway across the form table in 9th with 3 wins. But they are 13th in the league, have a negative goal difference, and come in here off the back of 2 straight losses. With all that in mind, I want to say that Route 1 Rovers are going to draw this game.
I'm going to go for a Route 1 Rovers victory, and the reason for that is Tommy spoke to their manager when we played them at their place, and they had a totally different lineup there to what they had away from home. What they said is that they struggle to keep a team when they're travelling. I think based that that it's home advantage. I think Route 1 Rovers definitely a great team. But we said about they're very much a five-a-side football team.
They're extremely fit.
Pass you off the park.
They can pass you off the park 100%. They're a very fit team as well. They move at speed. They cover a lot of ground, and I think that'll be well too much for Daisy Hill to handle, particularly at the Marley Stadium.
But you're going for a draw. I'm going for a Route 1 Rovers.
I am going to go for a draw here. Yeah, I just think Daisy Hill's stability in defence is probably what's going to help them get a point here. The last game is Thornton Cleveland's against Atherton LR.
Yeah, listen, I can only see Atherton LR winning that.
You can, yeah. I mean, I know Thornton. We bet on Thornton Cleveland's to win. The last game against Bay Cup. It didn't come to fruition, and I think against an Atherton LR team that having a stunning season really by all accounts, and that momentum is going to carry. That's an away win.
And they've certainly got over the sort of hangover from the FA Vars game.
They have
with a good win in the week in the cup. So yeah. Atherton LR all day long. So that sort of completes the fixtures. Apart from us, we've got a friendly at Alsager on Saturday. It's a 2:00 kickoff.
Yep.
You're more than welcome to attend that game if you so wish.
Yeah, it's important to note that there is no airwaves commentaries. I won't be there.
It is a friendly, and there's going to be a lot of changes throughout the game.
It's just about giving the boys minutes, isn't it, before next week's showdown against Garstang.
Yeah, most definitely. So I come to that stage of the show where I ask AJ the question, what have you learned this week?
I think you have to, as a chairman or as a CEO or anybody connected with the upper echelons of managing a club, not necessarily a team of players, but a club, you have to be pragmatic. And it's the first step towards securing the club's future, rather than letting them slip backwards and risking the dissolvement of the club as an entity in itself. And I think James Leary is a fine example of someone who's being really pragmatic and quietly, cautiously ambitious. I think opposite that, you've got somebody like Peter McCormack who's coming in and wants the very best for his club in the immediacy, but isn't necessarily thinking about the long-term ramifications of this. So what I've learned is if you are a chairman or a CEO, be pragmatic first, be quietly optimistic second.
Yeah, and I think if you go back to the conversation with James Leary, he obviously had a plan of sorts, which was fundamentally changed when they faced Tottenham in the FA Cup in the third round, and they made that money, and that helped them to move their plans on quicker than they expected. Yes. I would say to any club is that be patient in that approach when you're moving up the levels. Try and recognise what your natural level is. I think James Leary, I think his dad, they've got their heads screwed on. I think they're very competent in what they're doing.
Yes.
And I think they'd be very successful. But I totally agree with you over the Peter McCormack situation. I think that could sort of implode before it even gets off. But then that's at the magnitude of the business plan behind it and the money.
Yeah, that money could very well secure them future for a while if it's spent correctly and not frittered.
Yeah. So listen, I've learned to be patient. We had a good AGM on Tuesday night, and one or two people surprised me turning up. But I think by and large, I think most people are understanding of our situation.
Yes.
And hopefully, they keep behind us, and we'll move on. We fight another day, and that's all we can wish for.
Yeah, 100%.
So, listen, fantastic show, fantastic guest. We will be on our 15th show, our 15th episode next week, which I'm looking forward to. I don't know who our guest will be yet, but as usual, I will leave the final words in the very capable hands of AJ Vegette.
You've been listening to the Speaking Frankly Football Show with me, AJ Vegette, and my co-host, Mr. Frank Hughes. This podcast episode will be available on various podcasting services such as Spotify and Amazon Music. So please remember to like, rate, review, and subscribe. We thrive off hearing your feedback, and the subscription will help you to be notified whenever a new episode comes out. We are also available on X and on Facebook as Speaking Frankly, which you can find us to follow for any new developments across the shows as they happen. Otherwise, I've been AJ, he's been Frank. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Speaking Frankly Football Show, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.